going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 31 Days of Horror. I am your host, Mood616, and thank you once again for stopping in, guys. Yes, the 31 Days of Horror Vol.5 is coming at you live. Yes, it is that time of year again. Everything is changing color outside. The temperature's dipping down to get a little more brisk. So that can only mean one thing. That means Halloween is on the horizon, and it's Halloween month. Here's the 31 Days of Horror. I absolutely love doing this, man. It's a way to kind of dip into my collection and review some films that I just haven't watched it. I do that for the most part in these things. I will probably review some films this 31 days that I've seen before. But for the most part, it's going to be like first time watches and just kind of getting things out there. So for today, we're going to take it back to last year, 2018, with a film called Bonehill Road, released by Wild Eye Releasing and directed by my man Todd Sheets, who's been around for absolutely ever. He's been directing, I think he almost has 50 directorial credits to his name. A few of those are shorts, but you know, he was very prolific through the 80s and the 90s. The 2000s, he kind of hit a lull in his career. He directed a couple films in the mid 2000s kind of thing, and then 2013 and forward, and he's been really back on his game and doing some really good films. Bonehill Road, get into the synopsis of this one. Basically, it's pretty much about the worst day that you could possibly have in the history of your life. So basically the movie starts out with a mother and daughter, the mother totally being abused, domestically abused by her husband. She's just got the shit beaten out of her. The daughter's been kicked out of school, so they try to seek refuge by going to her, their grandfather's house, the mother's dad's house. So they're on their way there, and they kind of hit something on the road. And so they kind of stop, and they're like, well, what the fuck, right? And it turns out it's actually a werewolf. The werewolf attacks them, they crash their car. One thing leads to another, they get away from that, and they go to seek refuge, to the nearest house that's nearby. And of course, they walk into this house and find that there's a serial killer in there who's holding women captive and slicing and dicing them up and shit like that. So now they've not only got to fight against the serial killer, but now they got to fight against this werewolf for their lives. And yeah, so that's the story of the film. My thoughts on this one. Now, if you're familiar with Todd Sheets does very low budget type films, but the thing I like about Todd Sheets is that he's a very ambitious director. And this one is definitely a great case of having that ambition, A lot of modern werewolf films rely on CG because they just don't even want to put the man in the costume, the werewolf suit, and film it like that. But he does it like this. And to my amazement, the werewolves actually look really damn cool in this film. And to really kind of blow my mind, there's actually a transformation scene in this film, which you never get to see those in low-budget films. I mean, back in the day, it's definitely not comparable to American Werewolf in London and the Howling transformations, but it's here. It's present in the film, and I was very, very shocked to actually see that in the movie. So, yeah, all practical effects here. It's quite gory like any other Todd Sheets film would be. But this is an interesting film because, it doesn't just rely on, the one villain in the werewolf. It actually relies on, having a serial killer aspect to it too. Does it fully work? In my opinion, not really. I really preferred the werewolf scenes in this film. So the first half of the film is basically the werewolf. Then the second act is more of them trapped in this house with the serial killer, and there's a bunch of that stuff kind of going on. And then the third act is back to the serial killer, or back to the werewolf. So 2/3 of this film is really kind of what I wanted, but I do like the idea of him being very ambitious and just kind of creating this overall hellion day, with domestic abuse and werewolves and serial killers and cannibals and things like that. But yeah, very good. The acting for the most part is pretty decent in this. We do have a cameo from Leanna Quigley in here, who's actually one of the captive women. She's actually wearing a Dreaming Neon Purple shirt, which is really cool because that's actually a Todd Sheets film that came out. Is it Dreaming Purple Neon? I think that's what it's called. I think I just fucked that up. Yeah, anyways, she's wearing a shirt in the film, which that is a fantastic film. I actually watched it earlier this year, too. So, Leanna Quigley's in it. You got a little bit of boobs in here. It's shot pretty well. It's like a handheld. It's mostly shot at nighttime, so the lighting is decent. You can actually see things. He didn't shy away from not showing the werewolf, which is actually one thing that I was really blown away with right away. I couldn't believe they started showing the werewolf because a lot of these films, again, it's like Sasquatch and Bigfoot films where they just never show the fucking creature. But yeah, so overall, man, really good film. The score was really good. It's got a nice little synth score. And yeah, it's just fun. It was definitely fun. I probably could have done without maybe the second half of the serial killer. It got a little bit tedious, even though it was only about a half an hour long. I think the guy that plays the serial killer himself was probably the weakest part of the film for me, so that kind of brought it down a little bit for me. But overall, another really fun Todd Sheets film. I do highly recommend this one if you like werewolf films. It's one thing that you just don't see a lot of is, you know, great werewolf films in the modern, in today's world, because I don't know, they just don't make a lot of werewolf films in general, and when they do, most of them are bad. I really liked, you know, Weird that came out a few years ago. Late Phases was good. I liked Howl, even though a little bit of CG on the werewolf in that one, but Howl was kind of cool. But, you know, for the ones that have come out in the last few years, there hasn't been too many great ones, but this one isn't great, but it's definitely fun. Like I said, if you're into Todd Sheets movies, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a lot of blood and gore, low budget stuff, but, you know, it's pretty damn fun. So, and actually, another thing I did like about the mother and daughter in this film is that they were, you know, not like dumb characters. You know, they were doing things that you probably would do, you know, in those situations. So that was kind of cool too. So Bonehill Road from 2018. Check it out from Wild Eye. I know Wild Eye releasing can be very, very hit and miss with their movies, but if they're going to release Todd Sheets stuff, I'm definitely going to check it out. So, but yeah, so that's that. Yeah, I don't think I rated the film. So if I had to rate this movie, I'd probably come in at about, I'm going to give it about a 7 out of 10. It's actually pretty entertaining. So yeah, 7 out of 10. And that's going to do it for day 1, guys. I'll be back tomorrow with day 2. And again, you know, I picked out some movies that I want to review here, but I don't know what I'm going to be doing from day to day. So probably mix it up like I did in the last couple years. Kind of go new, old, or whatever the mix may be, whatever I'm feeling for that day. So, but yeah, glad to be back. 31 Days of Horror Volume 5. Check you guys tomorrow. And as usual, deuces!